What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and we are back with the final day of the Vault Tour. Everyone on day 3, day 2, depending how you look at it, had to go 5-1 or 6-0 in order to qualify. So we've got good players, we've got good decks, so settle down and enjoy a lovely round of lovely Keyforge action. Please do also remember that this is a video of a live stream which went out. So it's a live stream. It was done as a live stream. It was streamed live. So do please bear that in mind when watching. I'll be making reference to people in the chat and streaming and all of that. Just go with it. It's cool. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the Vault Tour in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. We've got, well, a top cut game. Both of these players went 5-1 yesterday and made it through to day 2 today. And we've got C. Julius Immortal, Brobnar Shadows Untamed on the left. We've got Fabian Groen, Dis Sanctum Shadows on the right. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a fun one. Both of them play Shadows. Both of them do what they're supposed to do. They've both got bait and switch. We've got Brobnar, which does a whole bunch of damage. Smashes, as you might expect. Hey, Quentin, how you doing, sir? Say hi to Quentin, everyone. And, of course, I will be checking the chat. So, if you do want to ask any questions, get involved, tell me what you think about the game, well, pop it in the chat, and I'll be checking as we can. I did actually get to see the deck list before this game started today, which already means we are ahead of yesterday and feeling pretty good. So do remember that in a tournament game like this, both players do get the opportunity to have a look at each other's decks before we start, which, I mean, it really kind of rewards your knowledge of the game. The more you know about the game, the more you're going to be able to actually take advantage of your opponent's deck list. We saw a game yesterday on the stream where one player didn't have any of those decks, those cards like bait and switch, etc., which could do emergency stopping forging, but we are down, and Champion Anafiel comes down, 6 power, 1 armor, and it's got taunt. Oh, we see a Dew Fairy coming down, gets 2 ember right away here, and, ooh, both players shuffling all of them back. Now, I'm just posting a link to Reddit here, but that was a... I've lost it, ladies and gentlemen. I've lost it. There we go. Lost in the Woods. There are actually 2 copies in Quentin's deck. Just gets two creatures from each player get shuffled back into the deck. So it's one of those, if there's only 1 creature from each player, they both go back. The point here, Champion Anafiel gets off the field. He's quite an offensive threat, if I'm perfectly honest with you. And, of course, it gets your Dew Fairy back into the deck, which means that you can play it down again in the future. You get 2 ember when you play it. That's pretty gosh darned good. We saw a deck with 3 in yesterday. Quentin's only got 2 in his deck, but I think that's still pretty gosh darn nice. So, good times. Alrighty then, so links have been thrown around at the appropriate times. We are going to be here all day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be with you for, well, unless there's some big problems, I'm going to be with you for all of the rounds today. So, yeah, settle down for the top cut. And this is it, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we're in single elimination. I will just double check that. Champion Anafiel comes back down, and I believe that's a Bulwark, which gives 2 armor, which means that you've essentially got a 6 power 3 armor creature with taunt. That's pretty gosh darned beefy, ladies and gentlemen. That's gonna help. That is really gonna help. Huge thank you to the lovely folks that are running the stream today. I am not running the stream. It's one of these weird things. The stream is being run in Eindhoven in the Netherlands, and I'm sitting here in Cornwall in the UK, commentating in my little studio surrounded by a whole bunch of nerdy things. Although I don't have any Keyforge posters or anything up at the moment. I feel like I need to get some Keyforge swag for this room. Really make it into kind of more of a Keyforge den. That's something I need to work on. So, what do we see coming down here? We've got a Shadows turn, and we get Silvertooth coming down, which is great. Silvertooth comes into play active, so you get to reap. And there is another one coming down there as well, which is slightly less clear. But I believe it is an Umbra. It's got skirmish, and when you fight, you steal an ember. Hey, we got a Shadow's turn here as well. We got Silvertooth coming down with a Dusk Runner. It's an upgrade that gives it Reap, Steal, and Ember. And of course, putting it on Silvertooth means that you can use it right away. He reaps, he gains an ember, and he steals an ember. That sounds pretty good to me. What else do we see coming down here? So now we've got a Noddy the Thief hitting the field. It's got elusive, and it's got an action that steals an ember. But we actually just see... Oh, that was a Relentless Whispers. Relentless Whispers does 2 damage to a creature, and if it destroys it, you steal an ember. So Fabian's got a pretty ember-heavy turn going on. He went from 0 to 4, while Quentin went from 4 to 2. That's quite nice in terms of just slowing down your opponent. This is pretty good. And I have had confirmation, ladies and gentlemen, it is single elimination. Oh, we've got some cheeky damage coming down, ladies and gentlemen. Booby Trap. Deal 4 damage to a creature not on a flank with 2 damage of splash. And then we just reap with Silvertooth. We had this discussion yesterday on the stream. Silvertooth goes down active and is incredibly weak and doesn't have elusive. If you can get a second reap with Silvertooth, that is a huge, huge bonus and a huge, huge advantage that you get. So I've got the chat on now, ladies and gentlemen. Hello to everyone in stream. If you're watching on YouTube later on, hey, there's still a comment section. You can still enjoy it there. Yeah, I'm kind of talking to people on YouTube after the fact and people on the stream in real time. It'll be fine. You guys are clever. This is the internet age. You'll figure it out. So it looks like Fabian is just reaping with both Champion Anafiel and Bulwark and getting that ember back and rolling along quite nicely. A second Champion Anafiel comes down. And we just got a lot of Sanctum creatures coming down. Now, I believe that is a Sergeant Zakiel, if I'm seeing that correctly. And 4 power, 1 armor. When you play, you may ready and fight with a neighboring creature. That's quite nice. We like Sergeant Zakiel. Still not the biggest fan of Sanctum. Still not my favorite house. But I do love the whole Sanctum versus Dis thing going on. I love that they are just... I mean, there's literally a Sanctum card that destroys all Dis creatures. Which is kind of funny. Now, Fabian has actually managed to maneuver himself to a position where he's got enough Ember on the field that he can actually reap now. Which is pretty gosh darn cool. And if you have got any questions about the tournament, etc., if you've got any questions, do let me know. I've got somebody in the venue I can try asking questions to. So if there's anything you need to know, let me know and I will do my very best. So we're back into Brobnar now, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe that's a Fire Spitter, which deals 1 damage to each enemy creature before the fight. And I believe that is a Crump. 6 power, and after an enemy creature is destroyed fighting Crump, its controller loses 1 Ember. Now that I know is a Ganger Chieftain. When you play it, you may ready and fight with a neighbouring creature. So, of course... Ooh, now that's a weird one. He actually ended up fighting Champion Anafiel, but he had to. Because Champion Anafiel has got Taunt. So he has no choice. What he wanted to do was destroy another creature, make Fabian lose an Ember, but that's not an option, because Champion Anafiel has Taunt. You can only attack a creature with Taunt unless you can't attack its neighbours unless the neighbours also have Taunt. So you've got to find a creature which is not next to a creature with Taunt. But of course, the way the battle line is set up for Fabian, that's not possible. Now, Fabian does have 6 Embers, so he was able to go ahead and forge a key there. And that means that he is off and rolling. And like I say, if you know anyone who's into Keyforge, give them a shout, let them know this is going on. It is being streamed on the Asmodee Netherlands channel. That is without any commentary. I am stealing their feed, and I've got the commentary rolling on here. So, yeah, I hope it's enjoyable. And if there's anything I can do, ladies and gentlemen, please do let me know. Now, I believe that's Cleansing Wave. Heal 1 damage from each creature. Gain 1 Ember for each creature healed in this way. Now, only 1 damage, but still gets you an Ember. And Fabian's going for a fairly straightforward strategy here. I'm going to put a bunch of creatures down. I'm going to reap. No fighting, no destroying. Even though he's got powerful creatures there, he's got his champion and Anafiel down with Taunt, which is protecting his other creatures. He's got his Bulwark, which is actually giving each of his champion and Anafiel 3 armor in total. And he's just sitting there reaping. Now, we do see a Dew Fairy coming down. Sorry, I keep saying Dew Fairy. I mean Dust Pixie. Dew Fairy is different. I mean Dust Pixie. 2 Ember, terrible creature. It literally is as weak as it can possibly be, but it gets you 2 Ember. Now, an Ancient Bear comes down. That's quite nice. Ah, thank you. Arranging his battle line so I can see what he's got, that makes me happy. We also see a Kindrift Longshot coming down. Now, it's a rare card. It's a really good one. It's got Elusive and Skirmish, and when you reap, you deal 2 damage to a creature. So we're just seeing a whole bunch of fighting going down? No, I know what it is. It's his second copy of Lost in the Woods. Gains you an Ember, and you choose 2 friendly creatures and 2 enemy creatures, and you shuffle each of them into their owner's deck. There we go. Now, you can see here Quentin's got a whole bunch of Ember, but he's in that risky part, because Fabian plays bait and switch, as do an awful lot of people, and a bait of switch would take his 9 Ember down to 4 Ember and would stop him reaping. Now, Fabian's up by 1 key, but he's not reaping this turn. But if Fabian can get a bait and switch rolling, he is going to go up to 10 Ember while putting his opponent down to 4, as it stands at the moment. That's pretty gosh darned good. So, go Fabian, ladies and gentlemen. Go Fabian. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. So, I'm just getting word from inside the venue. We get 2 games here going on at all times, just in case one finishes early. The second game has finished. The second game that was going to be on stream is already over. Now, that is a Charette that's come down, which captures 3 Ember. And Fabian's done what he needed to do. Fabian has successfully stopped Quentin reaping on his next turn. That was his plan. That was what he wanted to do. And he has been able to achieve that. That was a good play, ladies and gentlemen. That was a very good play on his part indeed. That was all he needed to do. Now, I believe he also played a Toxin. When he reaps, he discards a random card from his opponent's hand. And he got a Tentacus down there, which says that your opponent must pay you 1 Ember to use an artifact. Kind of irrelevant at the moment, given that Quentin doesn't have any artifacts on the field. But it does mean that if Quentin wants to play artifacts, that's going to make things more difficult. So Fabian here is really playing this game well. In the first couple of turns, he was like, oh, you don't have very much. Cool, I'm just going to put some creatures down and reap. And then when his opponent got a whole bunch of Ember, he went, oh, I actually have to try doing stuff now. Cool. And he got the Charette down, he captured a bunch of Ember. Now, we see a Ritual of Balance coming down here. If your opponent has 6 or more Ember, you may steal 1. However, there's a Tentacus on the field. So you can steal an Ember, but you have to pay your opponent an Ember to use it. So it's kind of irrelevant. Oh, that was fun. So, we do see Ancient Bear coming back down again there. I believe that was after a regrowth. And he's taken out one of those champion and Anafiel, which is very nice indeed. And it looks like he's using Kindrift Longshot to take out the Toxin there. Now, Kindrift Longshot is that one I was telling you about a moment ago. Kindrift Longshot, when you reap, you actually get to deal 2 damage, which is really quite nice. But it's got Elusive and it's got Skirmish, so you can take down a Toxin there. Now, it is a free power, so you would have to fight. Because you got Skirmish, you don't take anything back. So Quentin has been able to take out a couple of creatures this turn. He's also been able to get back up to 6 Ember, but he's only got 6 Ember. And we've already seen Fabian's got a bunch of options for stealing Ember here. So this is quite nice. This works quite beautifully, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to help. This is going to help him very much indeed. Because Fabian, he just needs 1. Now, if he doesn't get 1, then we're going to even up. Oh, we see Fear here coming down. Now, there's a bunch of copies of Fear in Fabian's deck. Fear just says, return an enemy creature to its opponent's hand. We see Tentacus being used here. Yes, that was reaping. Okay, so we see a couple of reaping there. We see Charette reaping and we see Tentacus reaping. And there is a Dominator Bauble down. Dominator Bauble, as an action, says use a friendly creature. There's actually 2 in Fabian's deck. It just allows you to cheat houses. It allows you to use friendly creatures that aren't in your house. If you can get both of them down, that's awesome. Because every disc turn, you get to use 2 non-disc creatures, assuming you've got 2 non-disc creatures on the field, which he actually doesn't at the moment. He's just got that 1 Sergeant Zakiel down. And that is it. So, back over to Quentin. Fabian's got a whole bunch of Ember, but he wasn't able to stop Quentin forging a key. Quentin did get that key, and he is now up and rolling. But he's still behind. He might have forged a key, but Fabian's already forged a key, and Fabian's got 6 Ember up, so it's not like he's in some unassailable position here, ladies and gentlemen. He's doing all right. So, what is Keyforge? Keyforge is a unique deck game. You buy a deck, and it's made using an algorithm, and you cannot swap any cards in or out, and then you go to tournaments. There's one-sided, and then there's curb stomped. Are the Ember that are captured stacked on each other? I don't believe they are, but they might be. Yes, no, they are stacked on each other, I believe. There's only 1 Charette down at the moment. There should be 3 on Charette, unless there was only 1 at the time. So, we did see a Mighty Javelin coming down here. You can, during any house's turn, it's an Omni ability, sacrifice it, deal 4 damage to a creature. Yes, there we go. So, it seems like they are listening to the stream nicely, ladies and gentlemen. There are 2 Charette down. They each have 3 Ember on. And now we can see them nice and clearly. See, that's why we need you guys in the chat. This is why you guys need to be chatting with me today, so that you can make sure we're being super clear about this stuff. Now, of course, this does open up the... Oh, Gang of Chieftain comes down. This is a fun play. Gang of Chieftain readies and fights with a neighbouring creature. And then, of course, you're ready and fighting with Crump, which means your controller loses an Ember, which is fun. Now, there's another creature come down here. Is that another copy of Crump? No, he only plays 1 Crump. That might be... Struggling to identify that one on the far left there. We'll figure it out in a second, ladies and gentlemen. We will get it. So, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. And we are back over to Fabian here. Oh, I can see what it is now. It is Bumpsy. When you play it, your opponent loses an Ember. When the cards are side on, it's not the easiest to identify them on the camera. But I think we're doing a pretty good job overall, if I'm honest with you. Now, we do have an upgrade coming down. It's a Shadows upgrade, which means it has to be Dusk. No, it's not. It's a Sanctum one. It's either Armageddon Cloak or Protect the Weak. It is nearly impossible to tell from here. So, we've got a couple of reaping going on, but Fabian needs to be careful here. Because Fabian's forged his 2nd key, which is wonderful. And he's got 4 Ember, which is great. But Quentin's about to forge his key next turn. If Fabian can take 1 Ember away from Quentin while gaining 2, he is going to have a big, big advantage. Moving into what could be the final turn. So he's trying to decide what's going on with Sergeant Zakiel there. I believe he's already reaped with him. We're definitely on a Sanctum turn. Armageddon Cloak gains Hazardous 2. You deal 2 damage before a fight. And then, if destroyed, you heal this creature and destroy Armageddon Cloak. And Protect the Weak gives a creature +1 armor and it gains Taunt. Now, I believe it's Protect the Weak. I think it's a Protect the Weak. I could be wrong. No, I think it's Protect the Weak. I think it is Protect the Weak. So, Fabian cannot stop Quentin forging his 2nd key here. So, we're 2 keys each, and Fabian was not able to get enough Ember. So, this is huge. This means that if Quentin can get 6 Ember this turn, he's going to be in a position to potentially win the game. Fabian's got 5 Ember. 5 Ember is great. Also, huge shout out to the people on the stream and the judges there for making sure we can see all the Ember. Wasn't always clear in all the games yesterday, and today, seriously, just seeing the deck list before the game and having these counters it is making my life a whole lot easier. And for you guys watching the stream, I'm sure it's making your life easier too. So big up to those lovely people. Now we're 2 keys each, and Fabian's not forging on his next turn. Which means if Quentin can get enough Ember to forge on his next turn, he can potentially win the game next turn. Now, one of the things which I really like on Quentin's side of the field is that Mighty Javelin. Now, he does have to pay an Ember to use it because of Tentacus, which is not ideal. But it's got an Omni ability, you can use it regardless of your active house. And when you sacrifice it, you deal 4 damage to a creature, which would destroy that charrette, get the free Ember back. It's not relevant at the moment because he can't actually forge. Okay, apparent people in the stream are saying that it is Armageddon Cloak. So yeah, I think that Mighty Javelin is going to be a good play. Now, you can't use it yet because he doesn't actually have an Ember to pay. But if he can gain, say, 4 Ember, he can then pay one of them to use Mighty Javelin to destroy Charrette, and then get free Ember back, and then he would go from 4 to 6, which would be enough to forge a key. So it's not an option right at this second, but it's definitely something I would be bearing in mind if I were Quentin here. Now, there is an awful lot of thinking going on, and there's not a huge amount of doing going on. I think it's Quentin now. Obviously, this is a key, and we see this in trading card games, and, well, this isn't really a trading card game. It's a unique deck game. But we see this all the time. It's, especially in the end game, Quentin knows there's only a couple turns of this game left. There might be 13 minutes left on the clock. Some weird things would have to happen for this game to go to time. Either Quentin's going to get enough Ember to forge a key, or Fabian's going to stop him and then get enough Ember to forge a key. Fabian's already got 5 Ember. Quentin doesn't have to play spoiler now. Quentin can use this turn to get Ember, and then next turn, he can start focusing on disrupting Fabian. Now, to that end, he pops down a Noddy the Thief. Can't do anything this turn, but next turn, action steal an Ember. So that could help him if he goes Shadow next turn. So we are locked into shadows now. Oh, here's a fun one. Lights Out. Return 2 enemy creatures to their owner's hand. I was going to say it has to be that Tentacus there. That's interesting. He could have chosen to go for Charrette. Oh, he's not going for Charrette. He's getting rid of the Tentacus with Lights Out so that he can then use Mighty Javelin to get rid of that. Then he plays down a Ghostly Hand, which gains him 2 Ember, doesn't get to steal because there's not exactly 1. And now, this is what he needed to do. He's now got enough Ember to forge a key, and now it's over to Fabian. Fabian has to play spoiler now. Fabian has to stop Quentin reaping next turn. Now, he only needs to get rid of 1. It's not the most difficult thing ever, but he has to get rid of 1 Ember on Quentin's side. He has no choice. Because if he doesn't, he's lost the game. If Fabian can stop him reaping, then next turn, Quentin's in that position. But as it stands at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, Quentin's winning the game next turn unless Fabian does something. Now, of course, Fabian plays Shadows, and Fabian plays Dis. I don't think there's very much in his Sanctum suite which is going to help him out now. Sequist can capture an Ember when you reap, but it's got to be down, so that's not going to really help. Now, what he could potentially do is go Glorious View. That would be an option for getting Ember, because it gives you 1 Ember for each creature fewer than your opponent you've got. It would gain him 5 Ember right now. But the problem is, as I've been saying, gaining Ember isn't enough. Gaining Ember doesn't win you the game. That's an issue. For people asking in the chat, no, Quentin does not play Key Charge or Chota Hazri in his deck, so Quentin is not able to do that mid-turn forging next turn to give him the win. Unfortunately, he's got to go the old school route. Key Charge and Chota Hazri both have essentially the same thing, because Chota Hazri is a play ability. Ooh, and they both let you forge a key essentially for 7 cost. Now, we are going for a pawn sacrifice here. Sacrifice a friendly creature, deal 3 damage to each of 2 creatures. And he's just working it out here. Now he's getting rid of Kindred Longshot as well. That's quite nice. Why is he picking up an ember? Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, you do get an ember bonus for playing it, but you don't get an ember for destroying creatures. There's a bunch of things like Relentless Whispers that do that for Shadows, but not that he has. Now, he's playing Shadows. He's got to have a card. Now, good news is he's got a Shadow South down. That's a good blocker. One last job. Oh, what a play. One last job gives you an ember bonus, and it reads, play, purge each friendly Shadows creature, purge, goes away for the rest of the game, steal 1 ember for each creature purged this way. Ladies and gentlemen, playing down a Shadow South so that you can purge it with one last job. That is not the easiest way to stop your opponent forging a key by stealing a single ember. But that might have just won Fabian the game. Because now, he's got 8 ember, and Quentin's not forging a key. That was beautiful. It's one of the more convoluted plays you're going to see, but it worked. It absolutely worked. Of course, Julius does play... Quentin, playing C. Julius the deck, does play bait and switch. Oh, he's conceding! Fabian wins on a ridiculous play, playing down Shadow South and then purging it with one last job to steal a single ember, stopping Quentin forging and putting himself up to 8 ember. Quentin is unable to reduce him down below 6, and he wins the game. What a ridiculous play, ladies and gentlemen. That was utterly amazing. Oh, that was so much fun. I enjoyed that greatly. That was a good end to the game, ladies and gentlemen. That was a really, really nice game, a really close game. And this is the thing you get with Keyforge. You don't get to make your own decks. It's a unique deck game. So sometimes you do just see ridiculous endings like that. Oh, that was fun. It's not quite as good as the Full Moon play yesterday. I put round 4 up on my channel, youtube.com/WossyPlays. Go check out round 4 from yesterday. That was nuts. But that was a good ending, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. I enjoyed commentating this Keyforge stuff. All of the rounds from day 2 are going up. So any rounds from day 1 as well, check the description. There are some over there. And do make sure that you keep coming back because we're going all the way to the final. For now, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter @TheWossy, where we talk Keyforge and other games. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.